commentating our next episode with Jennifer Olesky of Caffiend Cafe. I am a big fan of coffee shops here in my city. I've been to many coffee shops across North America and, of course, different places that I visited. Super excited to have this chat. Locally in my city, Edmonton is pretty good when it comes to having coffee shops within a short period of time, or a short period of time within, residential areas. The coffee scene is really, really big in Canada, and coffee shops are where we meet old friends, we meet old friendships and family and people that are visiting from out of town. So I'm super excited to have this conversation. The last time I had a real coffee shop moment where I could sit down for hours was probably 2 years ago, probably 2 summers ago before the pandemic. I am glad to know and share with you that our restaurants in the city have opened, which is great. But at the same time, I've looked around and noticed that although some restaurants are still open, hey, thanks for joining. It's still a bit quiet here in my city with respect to, let's see if I can join Caffeind. Okay, great. Get started, hopefully in a few minutes. Thanks for joining. Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for joining, Jennifer.
Yeah.
How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I feel good. It's almost the end of the week, so looking forward to the weekend.
Yeah.
So glad to have you on the line here on the Canada Business Show. Typically open the platform for entrepreneurs or store owners to really talk about who they are and how they got started in their business. So tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so we opened Caffeind 2 years ago now. My husband and I, we opened the cafe together. It's kind of a funny story. We always talked about how in 10 years we would open a cafe in a little mountain town, and it was like a quote-unquote retirement job that we were going to have. We live in the deep south of Edmonton, so Chappelle area, right on the edge of the city. And we got home from a trip to the mountains one time and really realized that great coffee, there was none in our neighborhood. It was a brand new area. There wasn't a lot of retail space. So they started building houses, and we kind of had this bug already in the back of our head that maybe in 10 years we would do this. And then we thought, well, why do we have to wait 10 years to do what we want to do? So we started asking questions about what would it take to open it here in our own neighborhood. But of course, landlords and banks and those types of people don't really love giving you information unless you have a solid business plan. So in order to find out the answers to our questions, we had to write a business plan. So we wrote one, and the ball started rolling. And the next thing you know, we signed a lease, and we were opening our doors.
That sounds very exciting. So before all of this, did you have another business, or did you leave like the corporate world and then transition into entrepreneurship?
So my husband he's a chef by trade. So he's always worked with food. We do coffee and we do food as well. So we have a full kitchen, soup, salad, sandwiches, baked goods, everything from scratch. So he kind of transitioned from food in one place to food in another place. And I was in management for a small fitness facility. So I oversaw the operations of like a boutique fitness studio. So kind of just took what I knew from there and brought it into our business.
That's awesome. It's interesting how not necessarily the corporate world, but a job can actually set you up for like entrepreneurial success. Like there are some transitional skills that you can carry over that I think a lot of people don't realize. So how is that like how early do you wake up, and what does your day look like? Like, how do you feel when you get that first customer coming in early in the morning, or whatever the case may be?
Yeah, so his days actually start a lot earlier than mine, fortunately for me, because he does all of the baking. So he's usually there between 4:30 and 5 o'clock in the mornings. And then I come a little bit later to get the coffee setup going. So my day usually starts around 6:30 at home, and I do some things at home first, and then I head in. I mean, it's great. We're really at a point now where we're 2 years in, so the majority of our customers we know, if not by name, by order. So I always tell people, I might not remember your name, but I'll always remember what you drink. So it's just so good to build relationships with people, because we're in a small community. We're not in a downtown hustle and bustle where people are walking by and popping in one time only. We have a lot of people that come back regularly to see us. So, it's been really good getting to know the people in our own neighborhood in a way that we never knew them before. We know, their kids and what they're doing and what sports they're involved in and when grandma's coming to visit. And, we get to spend a small part of their day with them. So it's been really fun.
That's really nice. And is this a franchise or is it like your sole owner own company?
Yeah, no, it's not franchise, so it's just the one location, and we both work there every day.
That's awesome. And when I'm wondering if this is something that just kind of came about when you were a little girl or in college or something like that, or university. Did you ever think about wanting to start a business, or is it something that just kind of came about one day?
No, it kind of came later for me. So when I was in high school, when I graduated high school, I was on a totally different path. I was a paramedic for a number of years. And that's kind of the path that I was on. But after a number of years working as a paramedic and then in oil and gas as a medic in some northern clinics, I decided I wanted to shift back to working in the city full time, and fitness was always a passion of mine. So that's kind of how I shifted into the fitness world. The man that I used to work for, my mentor, really, he was a very entrepreneurial spirit and coached other business owners through their own fitness studios. So I got a lot of coaching from him inadvertently through his own business. And that's really what kind of turned me to the entrepreneurial world, was kind of getting a taste of it firsthand. So I worked with him for 3 years, and he coached me and taught me everything that I knew about opening a business. And that's kind of when I made the shift into my own.
That's awesome. And I know the pandemic, it challenged so many people last year and everything else like that. When it first happened, what were you thinking? What were you feeling? Did it drive sales to your business, or how did that go prospectively from a personal and I guess a business perspective?
Yeah, it's definitely been a bit of a roller coaster. Initially, when the pandemic first hit, we actually closed the doors, and we took a couple of weeks at home and seriously considered what are the next steps. Like, we didn't know what was going to happen. There were so many unknowns in those first few weeks, but we weren't willing to let it go. Like, this was our dream, and we worked so hard to get it that we weren't going to give it up without a fight. So we shifted to, initially we did curbside pickup only, and we asked customers to put in their orders the day before so that we could be prepared for them the next day. Brought all their food and beverages out to their cars, but that quickly posed a lot of problems for us because people don't always know the day before that they want to come for coffee and a muffin. So then we weren't ready for those people who hadn't placed their orders the day before. So then we had to kind of shift and adjust to being able to take orders, day of, moment of, and then we shifted to a takeout only model, but still offered that curbside pickup for anybody who wasn't comfortable coming inside. And then, of course, as we kind of transitioned through the pandemic, we opened the doors again, and we had some limited seating inside and those kinds of things. And then recently we had to shift back to takeout only again. But there were a lot of downs with the pandemic, as anybody would say, but there were also a lot of really positives for us. Like, we created a lot of really great partnerships with other small businesses in the city that we didn't have partnerships with before, because all of these opportunities for collaboration, it just worked well for everybody. So, we really had an opportunity to grow our business, but also to grow the offerings that we have for our customers, so that we're able to offer things like Little Bear Gelato now that we didn't have before, and be able to partner with other businesses in Edmonton to sell their goods, but then also to bring more offerings to our customers.
That's awesome. I love how the two of you are working together as a team and building you never know, it might turn into a franchise. That's the beautiful thing about restaurants. What else can I say? Do you have any interesting moments that have happened at any moment? Maybe a celebrity walked in or an athlete from our city or something like that. Any special stories that you can share with us?
I guess probably the funniest one. So our coffee grinder, it counts how many shots you've pulled, how many espresso shots, and the machine counts up to 9,999, and then it, instead of going to 10,000, it has to roll back to 0 because there's only so many numbers on the display. And the very first time we hit that number, we had no idea what was going to happen. We had never rolled over back to the 1. So we didn't know what the machine was going to do, but we knew we were out of space on the display, so we weren't sure what was going to happen. So the very first time that it happened, the customer that was there getting the drink that would be the shot, we made a big deal about it, and we videotaped it, and we bought him his drink and told him his drink was going to be free, and we took photos, and we just had so much fun with it. And we posted the photos online, and it was a fairly regular customer and somebody that we knew. And we posted the photos online, and a good friend of mine, she messaged and she said, "Do you know who's in that photo?" I said, "Well, what do you mean? It's Aaron, no big deal. We know him." And she said, "That's Aaron Bold. He used to play for the Edmonton lacrosse team." And she was so starstruck that he had come to our place because she was such a huge fan of his, and that he used to play for the Edmonton Rush. And it was just this big thing in her mind. And I guess for us, we see people every single day, so you treat everybody the same, right? But for somebody who had been a fan of his for so long, she was just starstruck that we had our picture taken with him.
Oh, that's so very nice. That's awesome. And do you have anything coming up? Any new menu items, any events, newsletters, anything that people should know?
Events are kind of on hold right now, but we do actually have a brand new menu that we're going to be launching, I believe, March 2nd. That's the Tuesday that week. I believe it's the 2nd. But in 2 weeks from now, we'll have a whole new food menu that we're going to roll out and try some new and exciting things. So there's a lot of changes coming to our menu.
That sounds exciting. So we have a lot of fans on the line. I've been looking at the comments. Love Caffeind and Jen. See a lot of waves there. Does anyone have any questions for Jennifer? Soul Booch said, "Love Caffeind, love the owners and all the amazing things they do for the community." Oh, that's so sweet.
You can buy Soul Booch at Caffiend.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. See, I jumped on a bit earlier, and I was telling people, just kind of getting people excited to join and letting them know that the cafe shop culture here in Canada is really, really big. Mm-hmm. I was explaining, I'm from Toronto originally, so just being downtown and being in cafes there, you almost have to scream at the person across from you at the table because it's so busy. But I love the culture here. Before pandemic, you can just bring your laptop if you're someone like myself and do your thing or meet old friends. And it's just you don't really think about it until you have time to silence yourself. And after I have these shows, just thinking about the culture of cafe shops, it's humongous because I can probably tell you some significant moments that happened in my life where I was in a cafe, and you don't really think about it until you meet somebody who's in a different industry than you. But yeah, the culture is really, really interesting. There's so many memories that yourself and people like myself who like to just get a nice cup of tea or a piece of cake, and so many memories that people probably have just by sitting in cafes for all their life. So
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a really neat movement. I don't know if you've seen it here in Edmonton, but it's called Coffee Pass.
Okay.
So I believe he plans to do another one in the spring, but we're partnered with him. So it's 22 cafes on the pass, and you pay $35 for the pass, and it's almost like a passport. So you go to each place, and you get a free beverage at each place, and they cross it off, and it just kind of gives a chance to adventure all of the little cafes in the city that people have probably never even heard of.
That's awesome. I should look into that because with the restaurants open, are you fully open right now, or?
We're not. So we're still doing takeout only for the time being.
Okay.
And we're kind of just watching to see what happens with step 2, the first week of March. So we're hoping there's some changes brought to the restrictions that are still placed on restaurants.
Awesome. So I don't see any questions here.
Okay.
But did you want to share anything else with the audience here today, Jennifer?
Oh, there's Coffee Pass back in the summer. So there you go. We can, there'll be another round of coffee adventures in the summer when maybe some patios are open and things like that.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. It was really great to connect with you again.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Thank you for joining Jennifer. And I will be uploading this on IGTV. I will tag you here. So anybody has any questions for Jennifer, you want to learn more about Caffeind Cafe, you want to stop by and get something to eat, her information will be in the caption. All right, everybody. Hope you have a good night and take care of yourself.
Bye.
Bye. People are going to react to what you're going to say and how you're going to say it. So if you're